Hey, what's up, everybody? Sean here with the weekly update as part of my personal fitness journey. This is week 2 on my progress. So, if you've watched my previous videos, you know while I'm doing this, but if you haven't, if you're new here, let me just give you a brief overview. Recently turned 40 and realized that I have a lot of way to go to get in better shape. I weighed over 185 pounds, had over a 41-inch waist, and was just not in very good health overall, fitness wise. So I decided to make a change. And since I decided to do that, I wanted to go ahead and document all along the way. Um, because I know there's other people out there that are trying to make this journey themselves as well. And if you have somebody to watch and to see the steps that they take, see the difficulties, see the tumbles, or see the progress, and use it as a source of inspiration, it might help you out. Most of the videos out there of people talking about their personal fitness journeys are done after the fact. They tell you, they have these great bodies, physical bodies, and they say, believe it or not, I used to weigh 100 more pounds or something like that. But you don't really get to see where they were, all the steps that they took, and how hard of a journey it was, or potentially how easy it was. So that's what I'm trying to do here to follow along, whether you're following along live as this goes through, or if you're catching this video at some point down the line after I've already completed, you can still see my week to week progress. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, just to recap, I'm doing alternate day fasting, so 36-hour fast followed by 12-hour eating window, as well as increasing my level of exercise, both cardio and strength training. Um, and as part of this process, I'm going through and showing you all the exercises I've done, as well as the food that I eat from a day-to-day basis, so you can use it as a basis or comparison for your personal journey. So with week two, day one started with a cardio day, just where the rotations go. 36 hours doesn't necessarily break it up, so it's exactly the same. Monday to Monday the next week, Tuesday to Tuesday the next week. Um, so every other week it kind of alternates. So day one in this case actually happens to be a cardio day, also a fasting day. As I'm going along, what I'm going to be doing is mapping out the progress on a week to week basis. Right now, we only have in this slide here 2 weeks worth of data, but it'll look more filled and show a better journey as we get further along. But key things I want to point out here, the items that are in green are indicating that I made improvements from the previous time I've gone through the rotation and the exercises. So in this case, I'm up to 30 minutes on the bike, which is about 5 miles. And then using the stair stepper, I did it for 20 minutes and got to 40 footers on this day, which is Sunday. So again, this is a fasting day, so no food for me. But I do want to point out that along this process, during week one, I did have a lot of hunger as I would go through the fasting days. I really haven't had that this week. So the hunger seems to be gone on the fasting days, all the way through dinner time, even to the morning of the non-fasting days. I really don't wake up hungry. So if you can get over that first hump, that first week, it gets a lot easier. I do drink coffee and green tea at lunch for a little bit of energy, some electrolytes. I also started using those little zero sugar or low sugar, 0 calorie electrolyte packets on occasions just to flavor my water so it's a little bit less mundane, monotonous on a day-to-day basis. So day two was a strength training day, and specifically it's my powerlifting day. So I want to point out here that during week one, I did put out a short video where my first instance of doing this type of exercise, the powerlifting, I really felt tired. I couldn't complete what I initially planned on doing. I had to cut some of the exercises short. As you can see by some of the progress here on the second week, that really isn't the case anymore. I was afraid when I originally was going through this that doing the alternate day fasting was going to drain me of the energy that I would need to do any kind of pertinent strength training, but that really doesn't seem to be the case. Not only was I able to maintain stuff with deadlift, I was able to improve that slightly and add in additional exercises, some of these that are completely green on the bottom there. For example, a bench press of 115 pounds, 5 reps for 1 set. I didn't do that at all the previous week, so that added in the total amount of exercise. Now, the numbers you're seeing on here is the volume. So I'm using the volume calculation, the total amount of weight times the repetition times the set for each of the different exercises. So that's what I'm using as a primary method of tracking metrics from week to week on here. So what did I eat? So breakfast, dinner, lunch, try to have high protein meals. I had an omelet for breakfast, some oatmeal with some dried fruit and some granola, a little bit of orange juice to get some fruit in there. Lunchtime, we had some fish in the cafeteria, also a lot of vegetables, trying to eat a lot of healthy vegetables. So green beans, some carrots, some fried rice, just because I'm a huge rice fan. Dinner, we had a little bit of salsa chicken, some white rice, mushrooms, some salad, my concoction there with all kinds of good stuff, including olive oil. And then just to demonstrate that you really don't have to give up all the good, tasty things when you go through this type of fasting, I had a chocolate cheesecake on top of it. So if you're planning on doing this fasting and you're afraid that you're just going to focus on eating all the healthy stuff and you're not going to be able to go long periods of time without some type of break, um, if this all works out for me, you'll see that I can still have these sweets and make progress. Uh, Day 3, so the exercise here was my cardio day. Did a mile and a half run, which I made improvements in the time, went from about 16 minutes, almost 17 minutes to about 15 and a half minutes. It's also the day where I do 1 minute sets of all kinds of different exercises. So everything from arm circles to bicycles to scissor kicks. During week 1, I was able to do about 30 seconds for a lot of the exercises before I need to take a quick break, catch my breath, put my feet down, do it a little bit more, and then, take a break and hopefully finish out the 60 seconds. This week I got to about 45 seconds before I need to do that. So hopefully by the time this comes around again, I'll be able to knock out the entire thing. In addition, I also put a short video about this as well. Every Tuesday, which is happened to be on a Tuesday, the gym has a 45-minute boxing class. So I've always had an interest in it. Wanted to see exactly what that was all about. So I decided to join up in the class, and it kicked my butt. It was a lot of sweating, a lot of hard movements. Afterwards, my lower back, the muscles there were really sore. Felt like I got beat up, and I was the one throwing all the punches. Um, but I'm planning on incorporating that into the exercises each week now. It's always going to be on Tuesday, so the actual exercise routine that I'm using, the rotation, will change, but it's going to be incorporated there on a week-to-week basis. Because if it was a fasting day, no food for me, so just a lot of water, coffee, tea, some lemon water, some mint water, those type of things at lunch to just kind of get me through. Another thing that I read online is that you can just use simple salt water instead of the electrolyte packets to get a little bit of electrolytes in your system, which is important on fasting days. So I used some salted water at what would have been dinner. Day 4 was another strength training day. And this is another one demonstrating that I was able to at least maintain what I've done in the past from week 1, with some of them actually making significant progress. Leg press in particular, added in, I believe it was an additional 20 pounds, 135 to 155. But when you do that with 10 sets and 3 reps, it really adds up the total volume. In addition, from week 1 to week 2, I added in shoulder press as an additional exercise to just felt like I wasn't really addressing that type of muscle group here. So I added that in, and really didn't have any impact to the rest of my exercises. So I'm planning on at least maintaining the levels we have for next week. And then from there, potentially adding in additional exercises as we go. So what type of good food did I have? Again, I'm at the point now where I'm not really hungry when I come to my eating days, but I enjoy the eating days just because I enjoy food. So this was one in particular. We had wings at our lunch, so huge buffalo wing fan. So had some of those along with some squash, some quinoa, some clam chowder, which wasn't the best. A little bit watery, but a little bit of flavor. Uh, Another change here, other than my uh, default breakfast there, having yogurt, omelet, and orange juice, I added in these protein bars, uh, had them spread out throughout the day, basically halfway between breakfast and lunch, and halfway between lunch and dinner, just to keep the protein going throughout the day. For dinner, I did have a little bit of protein with it was supposed to be chicken parmesan, but there really wasn't any uh, noodles to go with it. There wasn't any cheese or sauce, so basically just a breaded chicken. But I did have a lot of vegetables, a lot of salad to get through there, to include a V8 can, but then a whole bunch of different vegetables in the salad to include carrots, green leaf lettuce, kale, chickpeas, all kinds of good stuff, and then side items there. I had a little bit of fruit with a banana, and then of course one of those days where I wanted to treat myself, so I got a donut and some milk as well. The next day, day 5, was again another cardio day. So this was the day where we do the row machine. You sit down and you kind of pull the cable back and forth, and then jump roping for 2.5 minutes and a 2.5 minute rest. Um, I felt really good for the jump rope piece compared to the last time. Last time I was really tired doing jump rope. So I think next week I might change it up. Instead of 2.5 minute rest, 2.5 minute jump rope, I might do 3 minutes and 1 minute rest. Um, and then the total time here being mapped is the actual total amount of time that was being jumped. So with 4 sets, it basically amounted to 10 minutes of total jump rope time, even though there's a lot of rest there. I did for the rowing machine, that should technically be 4,500 meters this time around. So the meters went up, but the time stayed the same. Again, no fasting and no eating. So fasting day here on day 5, coffee and lemon water for lunch. But other than that, just a lot of water. Final strength training day for this week was on day 6. And this is one of the instances where I've had the 3rd rotation already. So it shouldn't necessarily say week 3, it should technically be week 2 still. So week 2A. Again, the last time we had these exercises, I added the crossbody hammers and the hammer curl as well. Many of these exercises here at least maintain the same level of volume, high level increase with the bench press, just because I was able to do a lot more on the deadlift, bench press, squat day. So I figured I'd increase my volume here as well, just to keep exercising and emphasizing those areas of the muscles. What I eat, so instead of having an omelet that morning, I had a breakfast burrito. Of course, I threw in those protein bars just to get me through the day. Now, I do want to point out here that I don't have lunch listed because even though it looks like a fairly small breakfast, just a few things there, a pizza, a yogurt, some breakfast burrito, I really wasn't hungry at all, and I couldn't really force myself to eat. So I skipped lunch and then had a little bit bigger dinner with a lot of fish, also some chicken and broccoli, some fried rice, collard greens, a little bit of fruit with a kiwi, V8. I did have the protein bars, like I said before, just to make sure I'm getting enough protein, especially with the weightlifting going on these eating days. And then finally comes a week 7. Again, because the way these rotations work with 36 hours of fasting, every other day doing a cardio and a strength training. Within the week, the first exercise of the week is always going to be the same as the last exercise of the week. It's really kind of the start of the new rotation. So in this case, we had the bike again. So even from earlier in this week, I increased it to 40 minutes on the bike and 25 minutes on the stair stepper, also upping up the total miles and the floors. So continuing to make progress, and that it seems like those progress gains, at least at this moment, are continuing to move forward on a steady pace. As far as food, again, no food that day, so coffee and my lemon water was what I had to drink. All right, so that's essentially the key parts of this week's summary. Um, what I like to do before I give the big reveal, the comparison of this week compared to last week, I give you guys a chance to throw in the comments based off the information you see. Do you think I gained some weight? Do you think I lost some weight? Do you think I stayed the same? Throw that in the comments. Talk about your own personal journey in the comments. Give me some feedback, whether it's feedback about how to make these videos better or that I can do better to improve my health, or questions that you have that you'd like to see me answer. For anybody out there, I really do appreciate you watching this content and would ask that if you want to follow along, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, add a comment. All right, so with no further ado, let's go ahead and see the overall results. So compared to last week, I was at 180. When I measured myself, it was at 179. Now, I will point out here that the weight dynamics seem to change day to day here. I'm using the same scale, but I measured myself the night before and I was down to 174, which happened to be at the end of a non-eating day. This one happened to be at the end of an eating day, so obviously eating the food could potentially add in additional food, or food weight, water weight. So it may shift. We'll see on a long-term basis where that goes. But overall, I'm down 6 pounds from last week, or the first week when I measured my waist. I was measuring it at 41. This week I'm at 40.5. So assuming that I did it myself the same way, it's a decent half-inch loss. I'm hoping that's the case, but we'll see if that continues next week. And this should actually say week up top. But key takeaways: maintained the same exercise levels, actually made some improvements. And I think looking from the very first video on the top left, especially to the one down here, there is a little bit of difference, especially in the gut. On the side profile, you can see it. The gut was quite a bit bigger than it is now. But we'll see where this goes. Again, this is a journey. You're going to catch along with me on a week-to-week basis. I'll throw in those continued intermediate updates during the week, during the short videos. So I encourage you to follow along, hit that like, hit the subscribe, and that's all I have for now.